Hello and welcome back to our Chronological Bible and your reading plan. Today is day 200 and we have 2 Kings chapter 18 verse 1 through 8 and 2 Chronicles chapters 29 through 31 and then Psalm 48. So we're bouncing around today. But 2 Kings chapter 18 verse 1 through 8 to start us off. And it came to be in the 3rd year of Hoshea, son of Elah, sovereign of Israel, that Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, sovereign of Yehudah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Abi, daughter of Zechariah. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to all that his father David did. He took away the high places and broke the pillars, and cut down the Asherah, and broke in pieces the bronze serpent which Moshe had made. For until those days the children of Israel burned incense to it, and called it Nehushtan. He put his trust in Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, and after him was none like him among all the sovereigns of Yehudah, nor who were before him, and he clung to Yahuwah. He did not turn away from following him, but he guarded his commands, which Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And Yahuwah was with him. Wherever he went, he acted wisely. And he rebelled against the sovereign of Ashur, and did not serve him. He smote the Pelethites as far as Azza and its borders, from watchtower to walled city. And that is 2 Kings 18, verse 1 through 8. Sorry, I'm just making sure it's up till that's what we're reading. Okay. Back to, or I guess jumping over to, since chronologically these are somewhat of the same things, we're in 2 Chronicles 29 now. 2 Chronicles 29. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 25 years old, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Abiah, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to all that his father David did. In the 1st year of his reign, in the 1st month, he opened the doors of the house. He opened the doors of the house of Yahuwah and repaired them, and brought in the Kohanim, which are the priests, and the Levites, and gathered them in the open place to the east. And he said to them, "Listen to me, O Levites. Now kadosh yourselves," which means sanctify yourselves or set yourselves apart. Kadosh the house of Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers, and remove the uncleanness from the Kadesh place. For our fathers have trespassed and have done evil in the eyes of Yahuwah our Elohim, and have forsaken him, and have turned their faces away from the Mishkan of Yahuwah, which the Mishkan, let me see what that translates to. Mishkan, dwelling place, or tabernacle. From the Mishkan of Yahuwah, and have given their backs. And they have shut the doors of the porch, and put out the lamps, and they have not burned incense, or offered burnt offerings in the Kadesh place to the Elohim of Israel. Therefore the wrath of Yahuwah fell upon Yehudah and Jerusalem, and he has given them up for a trembling, for an astonishment, and for a hissing, as you see with your eyes. And see, because of this our fathers have fallen by the sword. Excuse me. And our sons, and our daughters, and our wives are in captivity for this. Now it is in my heart to make a covenant with Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, so that the heat of his wrath turns away from us. My sons, do not be slack, for Yahuwah has chosen you to stand before him, to serve him, and to be attendants for him, to burn incense. And the Levites rose up, Mahath son of Amasai, and Yoel son of Azariah, of the sons of the Kehathites, and of the sons of Merari, Kish, son of Abdi, and Azariah, son of Yahalelel, and of the Gershonites, Yoah, son of Zimmah, and Eden, son of Yoah, and of the sons of Elitzaphan, Shimri and Yehiel, and of the sons of Asaph, Zechariah and Mattanyahu, and of the sons of Heman, Yehiel and Shimi, and of the sons of Yeduthan, Shemaiah and Uzziel. And they gathered their brothers and kadoshed themselves, again, set themselves apart, holy, and went according to the command of the sovereign, at the words of Yahuwah, to cleanse the house of Yahuwah. And the Kohanim came into the inner part of the house of Yahuwah to cleanse it, and brought out all the uncleanness they found in the Hakal of Yahuwah, which Hakal is temple, to the courtyard of the house of Yahuwah. Then the Levites received it to take it outside to the Wadi Kidron. And they began to kadosh on the first day of the first month, and on the 8th day of the month they came to the porch of Yahuwah. And they kadosh the house of Yahuwah in 8 days, and on the 16th day of the first month they had finished. Then they came in to Sovereign Hizkiyahu and said, And they said, We have cleansed all the house of Yahuwah, and the altar of burnt offerings with all its utensils, and the table of the showbread with all its utensils, and all the utensils which sovereign Ahaz in his reign had pushed aside when he trespassed, we have prepared and kadosh. And see, they are before the altar of Yahuwah. And Sovereign Hizkiyahu rose up early and gathered the heads of the city, and went up to the house of Yahuwah. And they brought 7 bulls, 7 rams, and 7 lambs, and 7 male goats for a sin offering for the rain, for the Mikdash, and for Yehuda, which I thought Mikdash was temple. Let me see. Hakal and Mikdash. Hakal is temple, and Mikdash is sanctuary. Okay, sanctuary, and for Yehuda. And he said to the Kohanim, which again are the priests, the sons of Aaron, to offer them on the altar of Yahuwah. So they slaughtered the bulls, and the Kohanim received the blood and sprinkled it on the altar. And they slaughtered the rams and sprinkled the blood on the altar. And they slaughtered the lambs and sprinkled the blood on the altar. And they brought out the male goats of the sin offering before the sovereign and the assembly, and they laid their hands on them. And the Kohanim slaughtered them, and with their blood made a sin offering on the altar, to make an atonement for all Yisrael. For the sovereign said that the burnt offering and the sin offering is for all Yisrael. And he appointed the Levites in the house of Yahuwah with cymbals, with harps, and with lyres, according to the command of David, and of Gad, seer of the sovereign, and of Nathan the Nebi, which is the prophet. For the command was by the hand of Yahuwah, by the hand of his Nebi'im, his prophets. And the Levites stood with the instruments of David, and the Kohanim with the trumpets. And Hizkiyahu gave the order to offer the burnt offering on the altar. And when the burnt offering began, the singing unto Yahuwah began, with the trumpets and with the instruments of David, sovereign of Israel. And all the assembly were bowing, and the singers singing, and the trumpeters blowing. All this until the burnt offering was completed. And at the completion of the offering, the sovereign and all who were present with him bowed and worshipped. And Sovereign Hizkiyahu and the rulers ordered the Levites to sing praise to Yahuwah with the words of David and of Asaph the seer. And they sang praises with gladness, and they bowed their heads and worshipped. And Hizkiyahu responded and said, Now that you have ordained yourselves to Yahuwah, come near and bring slaughterings and thank offerings into the house of Yahuwah. And the assembly brought in slaughterings and thank offerings, and all those whose hearts were so moved brought burnt offerings. And the number of the burnt offerings which the assembly brought was 70 bulls, 100 rams, 200 lambs, all these for burnt offering to Yahuwah. And the Kadesh gifts were 600 bulls and 3,000 sheep. Only the Kohanim were too few, and were unable to skin all the burnt offerings, so their brothers the Levites helped them until the work was completed, and until the other Kohanim had kadosh themselves. For the Levites were more upright of heart to kadosh themselves than the Kohanim. And there were also many burnt offerings, with the fat of the peace offerings, and with the drink offerings for every burnt offering. Thus the service of the house of Yahuwah was reestablished. And Hizkiyahu and all the people rejoiced that Elohim had prepared the people, because the matter came about so suddenly. Chapter 30. And Hezekiah sent to all Yisrael and Yehudah. And he also wrote letters to Ephraim and Manasseh to come to the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem to perform the Pesach, which is the Passover, to Yahuwah Elohim of Yisrael. But the sovereign and his leaders and all the assembly in Jerusalem had taken counsel to perform the Pesach in the 2nd month, for they were unable to perform it at its time, because not enough Kohanim had kadoshed themselves, and the people had not gathered at Jerusalem. And the matter was right in the eyes of the sovereign and in the eyes of all the assembly. And they settled the matter to send a call to all Yisrael from Beersheba to Dan to come to perform a Pesach to Yahuwah Elohim of Yisrael at Jerusalem, since they had not done it for a long time, as it is written. And the runners went to all Yisrael and Yehudah with the letters from the sovereign and his leaders, and spoke according to the command of the sovereign. Children of Yisrael, turn back to Yahuwah Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, so that he returns to the remnant of you who have escaped from the hand of the sovereigns of Ashur. And do not be like your fathers and like your brothers, who trespassed against Yahuwah Elohim of their fathers, so that he gave them up to ruin, as you see. Now do not stiffen your neck like your fathers. Stretch forth the hand to Yahuwah, and come to his mikdash, which he has kadosh forever, and serve Yahuwah your Elohim, so that his burning wrath turns away from you. For if you turn back to Yahuwah, your brothers and your children shall be shown compassion by their captors, even to return to this land. For Yahuwah your Elohim shows favor and compassion, and does not turn his face from you if you turn back to him. And the runners passed from city to city throughout the land of Ephraim and Manasseh as far as Zebulun. But they were laughing at them and mocking them. Some from Asher and Manasseh and from Zebulun, however, humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. Also the hand of Elohim was on Yehudah to give them one heart to do the command of the sovereign and the rulers, at the word of Yahuwah. And many people, a very great assembly, gathered at Jerusalem to perform the festival of Matzoth in the 2nd month. And they rose up and removed the altars that were in Jerusalem, and they removed all the incense altars and threw them into the Wadi Kidron. And they slaughtered the Pesach on the 14th day of the 2nd month. And the Kohanim and the Levites were ashamed, and kadoshed themselves, and brought the burnt offerings to the house of Yahuwah. And they stood in their place according to the right ruling, according to the Torah of Moshe, the man of Elohim. The Kohanim sprinkled the blood from the hand of Levites. For many in the assembly had not kadoshed themselves. Therefore the Levites were over the slaughter of the Pesach for everyone who is not clean, to kadosh them to Yahuwah. For many of the people, many from Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar and Zebulun, had not been cleansed. Yet they ate the Pesach contrary to what was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, Yahuwah who is good, provide atonement for everyone who has prepared his heart to seek Elohim. Yahuwah Elohim of his fathers, though he is not cleansed, according to the cleansing of the Kadesh place. And Yahuwah listened to Hezekiah and healed the people. And the children of Israel who were in Jerusalem performed the festival of Matzoth 7 days with great joy. And the Levites and the Kohanim praised Yahuwah day by day with instruments of praise before Yahuwah. And Hezekiah spoke to the heart of all the Levites, those having good understanding concerning Yahuwah. So they ate what was appointed 7 days, slaughtering peace offerings and making confession to Yahuwah Elohim of their fathers. And all the assembly took counsel to perform another 7 days, and they performed it another 7 days with joy. For Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehudah, presented to the assembly 1,000 bulls and 7,000 sheep, and the rulers presented to the assembly 1,000 bulls and 10,000 sheep, and a great number of Kohanim kadoshed themselves. And all the assembly of Yehudah rejoiced, and the Kohanim and Levites, and all the assembly who had come from Yisrael, and the sojourners who came from the land of Yisrael, and those who dwelt in Yehudah. And there came to be great joy in Jerusalem, for since the days of Shlomo, son of David, the sovereign of Yisrael, the like of this had not been in Jerusalem. And the Kohanim, the Levites, rose and barak the people, which means blessed the people, and their voice was heard, and their prayer came up to his Kadesh dwelling place, to the Shamaim. And chapter 31. And at the completion of all this, all Yisrael who were present went out to the cities of Yehudah, and broke down the pillars, and cut down the Asherim, and tore down the high places and the altars from all Yehudah and Benjamin and in Ephraim and Manasseh, even to completion. Then all the children of Yisrael returned to their own cities, each to his own possession. And Hizkiyahu appointed the divisions of the Kohanim and of the Levites according to their divisions, each according to his service of the Kohanim and Levites for burnt offerings and peace offerings, to serve and to give thanks, and to praise in the gates of the camp of Yahuwah. And the sovereign allotted from his possessions for the burnt offerings, for the morning and evening burnt offerings, and the burnt offerings for the Shabbathoth, and for the new moons, and for the appointed times, as it is written in the Torah of Yahuwah. And he said to the people, those who dwelt in Jerusalem, to give the portion for the Kohanim and the Levites, so that they are strengthened in the Torah of Yahuwah. And as the word spread, the children of Israel brought large quantities of the first fruits of grain and wine and oil and honey and of all the increase of the field, and they brought in the tithe of all a large amount. And the children of Israel and Yehudah, those who dwelt in the cities of Yehudah, brought the tithe of cattle and sheep, even the tithe of Kadesh gifts, which were kadosh to Yahuwah their Elohim, were brought in, and they gave heaps and heaps. In the 3rd month they began to pile up the heaps, and they finished in the 7th month. And Hizkiyahu and the leaders came and saw the heaps, and they barak Yahuwah and his people Yisrael. And Hizkiyahu asked the Kohanim and the Levites about the heaps. And Azaryahu, the chief Kohen from the house of Zadok, answered him and said, since they began to bring the offerings into the house of Yahuwah, we have had enough to eat and have plenty left. For Yahuwah has barak his people, and this great amount is left over. And Hizkiyahu ordered them to prepare rooms in the house of Yahuwah, and they prepared them. Then they brought in the contribution and the tithes and the Kadesh gifts trustworthily. And Konenyahu the Levite was leader over them, and Shimi his brother was the next. And Yehiel and Azazyahu and Nahath and Esahel and Yeramoth and Yozabad and Eliel and Yismakiyahu and Mahath and Benayahu were overseers under the hand of Konenyahu and Shimi his brother, by order of Hizkiyahu the sovereign, and Azaryahu the ruler of the house of Elohim. And Koreh son of Yimna the Levite, the keeper of the east gate, was over the voluntary offerings to Elohim, to distribute the offerings of Yahuwah and the most Kadesh gifts. And under his hand were Eden and Minyamin and Yeshua and Shemayahu, Amaryahu and Shechenyahu in the cities of the Kohanim, to distribute trustworthily to their brothers by divisions, to the great as well as the small. Besides those males from 3 years old up, who were written in the genealogy, they distributed to everyone who entered the house of Yahuwah his daily portion for the work of his service by his division, and to the Kohanim who were written in the genealogy according to their father's house, and to the Levites from 20 years old upward by their duties in their divisions, and to all listed in the genealogy, their little ones and their wives, their sons and daughters, all the company of them. For in their trustworthiness they kadosh themselves in Kodeshah, which means they sanctify themselves in holiness. And for the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, who were in the fields of the open land of their cities, in each and every city, there were men who were called by name to distribute portions to all the males among the Kohanim, and to all who were listed by genealogies among the Levites. And Hizkiyahu did this in all Yehudah, and he did what was good, and what was right, and what was true before Yahuwah his Elohim. And in every work that he began in the service of the house of Elohim, in the Torah and in the command to seek his Elohim with all his heart, he did and prospered. And now we have a psalm. Let me look real quick. It is Psalm 48. Psalm 48. Let's see, where's the Psalms at? All right, Psalms 48. Okay, Psalms 48. A song, a poem for the sons of Korah. Great is Yahuwah and greatly to be praised in the city of our Elohim, his Kadesh mountain, pretty on high. The joy of all the earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great sovereign. Elohim is in her citadels, he is known as her refuge. For look, the sovereigns met, they passed by together. They saw, so they marveled. They were alarmed, they hastened, away. Trembling took hold of them there. Pain as of a woman in labor. With an east wind, you break the ships of Tarshish. As we have heard, so we have seen, in the city of Yahuwah of hosts, in the city of our Elohim. Elohim establishes her forever. Selah. We have thought, O Elohim, of your kindness in the midst of your Haykal. According to your name, O Elohim, so is your praise to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is filled with righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice, and let the daughters of Yehudah exult because of your right rulings. Walk about Zion and go all around her. Count her towers. Apply your heart to a rampart. Go through her citadels so that you report it to the coming generation. For this Elohim is our Elohim forever and ever. He himself leads us even to death. And that concludes our reading for today. As always, thank you for joining. Hope you've been reading along, and peace and blessings and love to you. See you in the next one.